Hello, my name is Philip Zillhaver, and today we're going to be talking about the implementation of biometric security systems in households and in businesses. So the problem we're running in today is that a lot of identity theft and data breaches are occurring. Just this past year in 2018, there are approximately 3 million cases of identity theft and other fraud reports. Alongside that, there were also 1,579 data breaches, which is triple what it used to be 10 years ago. So today we're going to be talking about the possible solution is biometric security. And the three main points that we're going to talk about, or the three main types of biometric security we're going to talk about, are fingerprint scanning, facial recognition, and iris scanning. And so the overall question is the implementation of these biometric security systems feasible? And to evaluate that, we're going to talk about three criteria, which are social desirability, the ability for companies to implement the devices, and the accuracy and security of these devices. So first, let's talk about social desirability. To evaluate whether or not socially this would be accepted and desired for us to implement these devices and for biometric security to take over password security, I took a poll of a pool of individuals to see what they thought. And when conducting this poll, I found that 90% of the respondents stated they would like biometric security to take over password security. And this does show that socially it would be accepted for these systems to be implemented. I also found that the majority of people expressed favor for fingerprint scanners and iris scanners due to the fact that they have a higher level of security and are just more accepted in today's culture, especially because of fingerprint scanners on a lot of phones now. Continuing on, I looked to evaluate the ability for companies to implement these devices. So right now, what is happening is there are separate systems that can be attached to computers right now. And so they have fingerprint scanners and iris scanners that can be plugged into computers right now, which is similar to what we had with Skype cameras and other types of devices that have now been implemented into computer systems already. So in that respect, it does look to be something that companies can do. And another source that I looked at said that the resolution of these cameras would need to be 640 by 480 pixels, which is a possible camera resolution to be implemented into computer systems. So, based on these facts, we would be able to implement these devices, or companies would be able to implement these devices. And alongside that, we also know that facial recognition is currently available and in some phone systems, and that can be implemented into the computer systems as well. So finally, the criterion that we looked at last was the coupling of accuracy and security of these systems if they were to be used in computers. So first I looked at the accuracy of each of these devices, and what I found was iris scanning was the most accurate of the three, followed by fingerprint scanning and then facial recognition. So the reason for this was iris scanning is the most accurate and facial recognition was the least accurate because facial recognition still has some trouble with false positives. Some family members and twins can gain access to other systems because of the similar facial features that they share. Security, on the other hand, also had iris scanning as the most secure, followed by fingerprint scanning, and then facial recognition was the lowest level of security. So this was because of iris scanning being the most secure due to the amount of reference points and how specialized an iris is for an individual. So an iris is very similar to a fingerprint in that it is unique to an individual. What makes it better is the fact that it has more reference points than a fingerprint scan would have. Fingerprint scans are also very secure, but because it has less reference points, it is less secure than an iris scan. Facial recognition was the lowest level of security due to the fact that some facial features are the same between individuals. I also found a source that said each of these security measures are better and more secure when there's the use of anti-spoofing and liveness detection strategies. Some examples of this might be the detection of pulse or temperature when taking a fingerprint scan, or the use of spectral ICA analysis when doing an iris scan. So based on all of this, the real question is it feasible? That's what we're looking at. And according to all these criteria that we examined, these devices could be effectively implemented and could give us a greater amount of security in our systems. So in conclusion, let's just summarize what we talked about today. There are the three types of security that we examined: fingerprint, iris, and facial recognition. And we evaluated whether or not it would be feasible for each of these systems to be implemented into households and into businesses in place of the password security that we have today. And we evaluated this based on three criteria. One of those criteria was, is it socially desirable, which we found with the 90% of respondents that it was desirable and would be socially accepted. Second, we talked about the ability for companies to implement these devices. And we found that based on history and on the amount of technology available, that these types of systems would be effectively implemented by companies if they went to take those strides. And then finally, we talked about the coupling of accuracy and security. And while we found that all of the three types of security systems would be able to be implemented, we found that iris scanning on both accuracy and security was the highest level, followed by fingerprint scanning and then by facial recognition. And in conclusion, we found that this is feasible. This is something that can be implemented into devices that we have today and could take place for the password security that we've had in the past. And in doing this, we would be able to increase the amount of security and protection for our information, personal and financial, which is the end goal in implementing these devices. Thank you.